Getting that energy. Hopefully it's enough. Nailed it! So after the immense amount of support on my last upload, which was my top 10 takeoffs, I've decided it's only appropriate. We gotta sit down and take a look at my top 10 landings. Once again, some of these are skill-based landings, but in general, a lot of them involve just really cool, beautiful places, just awesome, neat locations that you can land a paramotor in. Also, once again, all the links will be in the description, so if you wanna go back and revisit any of these videos, take a look at them, check them out down below. And finally, this video is not sponsored by anyone, but I do wanna give a huge shout out to my friends at Aviator PPG. If you are just learning about this sport and you wanna get into it, Aviator is the place that I recommend you do it. It's where I personally learned how to fly. They're one of the top, most reputable schools in the US. They're based in Lake Wales, Florida, and they have slots open for this summer. So if you want to get into it immediately, they're the guys to call. They will be linked in the description. If and when you do sign up for their training, when you're filling out that form, make sure you click my name in the drop down, and I'll shoot you an email once you secure your spot, and you get to pick a free shirt from tuckergott.com. Risky Biscuits Co. It's on me. All right, so let's jump right into it. The first video is gonna be from our trip down to the Florida Keys just last year. Now, the Florida Keys are an extremely hard place to find a launch or landing site for a paramotor, as I discovered. There's not a lot of just open spaces. There's not any airports that'll let you take off and land. So you have to get really creative to find a good launch site. And even if you find one, the winds down there can be very extreme. So it's a balance between finding the right site and getting the right weather. And we did that in this video. So basically there's this road that zigzags out into the middle of nowhere. It's surrounded by kind of mangroves, and it made for a good little runway for us. The wind was right down the road. So my buddy Jeff, Dan, and myself took off from here. We flew around, had a great flight. We watched the sunset from a super high altitude above the Florida Keys and came in for a landing on this tiny little strip. Now, this landing doesn't require the most amount of skill ever. It was a little bit of a tricky approach to get in, but the coolest part about it is just that it shows the versatility of a paramotor. No other aircraft you can show up with your vehicle, find a random cul-de-sac like this, set up, and take off and land.
That didn't suck. High five. That was sick. That was beautiful.
All right, so the next clip comes from our last trip to Iceland, which was last summer, 2019. And this location, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right, but it's Landmannalauga. Landmannalauga. It's Rainbow Mountains. It's insanely beautiful. We take off from a kind of unassuming launch site and fly into these Rainbow Mountains, and it's just mind-blowingly awesome. There's so many colors. A bunch of paramotor friends were just flying together in a pack. Once we explored pretty much every corner of this beautiful Rainbow Mountain area, we actually came in for a landing at, I guess it's kind of like a park or a campground sort of thing. We just randomly plop in on our paramotors. Other people have their 4x4s to get out into this site. Once again, the site wasn't that technical. It was a pretty easy landing, but it was just an incredible location. We all get out. I bought some coffee. I got a nice muffin, which was an incredible chocolate chip muffin, probably the best I've ever had. And then we all stripped down and we kind of hung out in a hot spring for a little while. After chilling for a while, we took off again and flew back home. All right, this next clip was from all the way back in August of 2017 with the Paradigm team. And this is the darkest landing I can legally admit to on camera. This was legal. It was a TFR air show, so we had clearance to fly after sunset and far beyond. And we actually ended up going until it was pretty much completely dark. And the thing about landing when it's dark like this, even if you have a little bit of light or a nice moon out or whatever, when you're up high, you can see the ground down below you and kind of have a reference. But there's a certain zone as you get about 50 feet away from the ground that perspective kind of disappears. And it's scary. You can't tell where the ground is. And luckily in our case, we had a couple reference lights on the ground, and we had lights on our paramotor cages that illuminated the ground, made it a little bit easier to figure out when to flare.
How was it?
Pretty freaking rad!
Everyone loved it.
This next clip was from last summer as well, and this video I feel like deserves a lot more views than it got. I spent a lot of time scoping out islands on the Delaware River that I could try to land on from the park. Something I always wanted to do, and I had a couple ideas, but the big unknown factor was how sketchy the actual surface of the island was gonna be. This particular island had plenty of room, but it was all like cobblestone, and I didn't know if I was gonna twist my ankle on the landing or if I was even gonna be able to take off again. And it's an island, so if I hurt myself or I can't take off again, then I'm kind of screwed. I either have to swim to shore or call a rescue boat or something.
Moment of truth. Oh, we're committed now. Oh, I feel so vulnerable.
So the next clip is the classic, infamous Icarus landing where I caught my wingtip on a tree and broke my paramotor. I want to kind of go over what I was thinking in this situation because it looks like such a dumb mistake. And looking back, it really was. One of the things that went into this poor decision making was also me not being that familiar with the gear. I was on a bigger glider than I normally fly so that I could carry a ton of extra weight on my chest, and I was taking off and landing at a higher elevation. That was a factor, but that's still no excuse for what happened. This landing area, I feel like I kind of got greedy. I flew over it a bunch of times, and this is just a random little town that I decided I had to stop at for gas. I scoped it out big time. I looked at every option that I could land in, and like I said, I got a little greedy. I wanted to land close to the gas station and on a nice surface, and I'm coming in for the landing and everything would have been okay. I was looking at this little dirt driveway, but somewhere just as I'm coming into the flare, I start drifting right, closer and closer to the line of trees. And I knew I was close, but I thought I was gonna be okay, but obviously I just got way too close. My wingtip grabbed a tree and I kind of toppled over and broke a spar, or 3 spars I think, on my motor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're down. All right. Let's get unclipped.
This next clip is from the Bahamas mission with the guys from Team Fly Halo, and this was freaking life goal level. I've always wanted to do island hopping with my paramotor. I've always wanted to land on abandoned islands with not a soul on the island except for myself. The winds were super strong, there were huge crashing waves, but the actual landing site itself was nice and sandy, so it wasn't that big of a challenge. It was just a kind of big commitment.
Oh yeah, this is majestic. Check this action out. Can just park it wherever I want. Oh, chase cam, no. She took a hit.
Now here's another really cool one from Iceland again. This was our first trip out there in 2017, and there's this infamous airplane wreckage from an old DC-3, I think it is. It's a hot tourist spot. A lot of people go there and take their Instagram selfies and whatnot. But it's about a 4.5 mile round trip hike for the tourists to get there. We were flying our paramotors in a big group of people, buzzing up and down the coast, having a great time, and we just come in like a flock of freaking seagulls, land right next to the plane, unclip our gear, walk over, and go check out the airplane wreckage.
I'm gonna line up behind Byron. We'll come in for a landing here.
This next clip is another one that I feel like really deserved a lot more views than it got. It was launching my paramotor on ice skates. And I featured this video in my last video for a takeoff, and the landing was definitely a little sketch. Transitioning back onto the ice skates, I knew I had to make it really smooth. If I came down hard, I could twist my ankles, do something, fall on my face, I don't know. So I had to make the landing really, really smooth. And what happened was, I'm coming in for the landing, and as soon as I get a little pressure on my skates, they just kick out. My legs go in different directions. But luckily I was coming in smooth enough that I eased into the flare, and I basically just took a knee, set it down, and slid to a stop.
All right, this is it. I can't feel my hands anymore, honestly. Yes!
Nice.
Did you see that?
So yet again, another clip that very much deserved more views than it got, in my opinion. This was down in Costa Rica with the guys from Costa and Aviator. And in Costa Rica, the rules regarding paramotor flight are really relaxed. And as far as I know, there's really no one enforcing the rules. So it's basically do whatever you want. In this case, we had gone for an epic flight over the rainforest, flying with macaws down the beach. I remember having music playing and the vibe was just great. And we decided to land back at the hotel we were staying in, which made for an extremely sketchy approach. We're coming in over buildings, power lines, trees. In the US, this would be highly frowned upon, and you could never pull something off like this in the States. But we come in this super tight approach and plant it right in the front of the building. My buddy Eric comes in right after. We high five, carry our motors to the building, shove them in the elevator, and that was an epic trip.
How f***ing rad is that? I got music jamming out in my helmet, just getting the vibe. Freaking unreal, dude. Just hooking in right next to a damn hotel building. Let's make sure Eric makes it in one piece. Yeah, buddy! Oh, man, dude. That was the best.
All right, so this last landing is definitely not the most technical, probably not the most epic place, but it deserves the biggest shout out for being the most viewed video on my channel. 39 million views right now. This was landing at McDonald's. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this landing before, but I kind of wanted to dig into some of the technical aspects of how I scoped it out. I had wanted to land at this McDonald's for a little while. I had scoped it out on Google Maps, I had been there on foot, and I had flown over it a few times to check it out. Doing things like this in the US and my hometown and everything, I need to make sure that it's one, gonna be safe, and two, gonna be legal. Being legal basically means not flying over any people. Being safe means low winds, having enough room to put it down and take off again. So having scoped it out, I knew with the wind direction we had that day, I had to basically fly over the parking lot and hook a 180 in order to land into the wind. Luckily, this whole area is pretty much abandoned. All the stores have closed up, so there's really no one in the parking lots, which made my approach clear for the 180. I wasn't gonna fly over people or endanger anyone, but I still had to kind of zigzag around a few things. I made my downwind approach over the asphalt, and then I kind of had to come in over a dumpster and in between two light poles. And then I had it made. Nice grassy field in front of me, into the wind, and perfect landing.
All we got to do now is set her up and come on in, all right? Approach is clear. No power lines. All I gotta do is hook a 180. And beautiful. Like a boss.
I really wanted to feature this one, not just because it's the most popular video on my channel, but also because I don't think I've ever really talked about what went into it. In the video, it does appear like it's kind of a spontaneous thing, but behind the scenes, I definitely looked into it a lot deeper, and I knew exactly how everything was gonna go, and the execution was perfect. If something didn't look right, I could have just kept flying and avoided the whole situation. So top 10 landings, that's all I got for now. Some other people had commented that they'd like to see a top 10 public interactions, which I think would be really cool. My buddy Judson suggested top 10 police interactions, which I actually have a few that I've never posted on YouTube, so we might have to do that one in the future. If you guys have any other recommendations of top 10 things, definitely leave them commented down below. Aside from that, the limited edition blueprint and caution shirts are completely sold out, so I have to give you guys a huge thank you for all your support on that drop. We still have the Eat, Sleep, Fly and the classic Risky Biscuits t-shirts down below, but sometime around next month, I'm planning to release the next line of limited edition stuff, and we've got some pretty sick designs coming up, so keep an eye out for that. Hope you guys are doing well, hope you're staying healthy, and hopefully getting in some good flying. Luckily here in my community, it looks like the whole COVID-19 wave is starting to hit a peak, and hopefully it'll be going down really, really soon. That means hopefully we'll be back up in the air in one of the next few videos, and we'll be back to buzzing around having a great time. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, drop a like below, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Till then, peace.